Hi, I'm Tom. This is Mina, and this is Kitty Help Desk. So today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about a serious subject that, we should probably talk more about, and that is what feelings we have when we lose a beloved pet, someone that's been a part of our family for probably many years. This is difficult for all of us, but it's especially difficult for children. And I found a really great book that sort of helps to deal with this and is a way to sort of explain it to children and help them know that they're not alone in the way that they feel when they lose a pet. Now, the worst thing that I've ever heard anyone say when someone is grieving over a lost pet is it's only a cat or it's only a dog. Sometimes shocking that people can be that insensitive and not really realize that this is a really close-knit relationship that we develop between ourselves and our pets, especially when we're the primary caregiver. We really look at them as more than just pets. They're part of our family, even when they're doing a little housekeeping in the middle of shooting a video. Oh, Mina. So there are more important things today than talking about death and dying. But I remember when I was a kid, my best friend was a little mutt named Brownie. And I remember thinking of him as being a fairly large dog. I look at pictures now and I realize he was not a large dog. He was just a mutt off the street. And, it was just a different time because back then, most dogs weren't allowed in the house. Brownie was kept in the backyard. We had a fenced-in backyard in a suburban neighborhood. And, I don't remember him ever being brought into the house. But I spent a lot of time with him. And at some point we moved to a home that didn't have a fenced-in backyard. And my parents just arbitrarily decided that they would take Brownie to my grandparents' house and let him live there where he could run around because they were in a rural area and there was no need really to keep him fenced in and he could just be outside all the time. So, I sort of sadly went along with that. Like most children, you don't really understand why this is happening, why this decision is being made, but you sort of pretend to. That's the way a lot of children cope with a lot of emotional baggage. The things are happening to them. They don't have the equipment to process it or the experience to process it. So they just go along with it and pretend like they understand. I think sometimes that behavior follows us into adulthood too, around people that we don't feel really understand us or even want to understand us. We will just pretend everything's okay. But I'll never forget the day that I was told that Brownie had died. And it wasn't done in an insensitive way, but it really was done in a way where I could understand that I wasn't expected to grieve. And I was expected just to sort of deal with it. And I really don't think that's the best way to advise a child about the process of grieving. So I found this really great book. This came out it was published in 1988. But this is from Fred Rogers, who most of you know as Mr. Rogers. And it's called When a Pet Dies. And like most of what Mr. Rogers put out into the world during his lifetime, this is a really astute and really sensitive insight into how we all feel. I could imagine a lot of adults benefiting from this. I mean, a lot of us were raised by less than sensitive parents and, didn't have our emotions validated along the way and now struggle sometimes with our emotions in circumstances like losing a pet. And children certainly struggle with that because they don't have any experience with it, or very little, hopefully, experience with loss. So I found this to be just an absolutely spectacular book. And I just, I had no idea this even existed. I felt like the foreword to the book that Fred wrote was really indicative of how this all came to be. And I'd like to read just a little bit of it to you now. He says, my best friend was a brown, wire-haired mongrel named Mitzi. We shared joyous times, exciting times, and sad times. We got scared together when there was thunder and lightning, and together we crawled under the bed until they went away. When I wasn't scared of them anymore, Mitzi still was, so I comforted her and felt all the braver. When Mitzi died, I was very sad, and so were my parents. We had lost a member of the family. My parents encouraged me to talk about how I felt, and they let me know that grieving was a natural, healing thing to do. In grieving, we try to fill the empty space that was created in us all by the loss. Because of Mitzi, I discovered it was all right to cry when somebody you love dies. I learned, too, that loss takes time to understand. Wow. That's the foreword. So the rest of it's not quite as dense. It's mostly pictures with with people in mostly 80s outfits. But, I think this could be really helpful for a family member, especially a child who is grieving over the loss of a pet, and could really significantly help parents to help their children. So this comes very highly recommended from me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.